The ground shook under my boots the moment the siren started, and I knew tonight was not going to be like any other night on this farm. I dropped the bucket of feed and ran toward the barn, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it over the alarm. Ember was in there, my dragon, my best friend for 11 years. And something in the sky was calling out to her in a language I had never heard, a low humming sound that made the windows rattle and the dogs howl from fear. My name is Ellen Marsh, and I live on the edge of Colony Post 7, a small farming settlement on a planet called Varel, 300 light-years from a place most people barely remember calling Earth. I was only 7 years old when I found Ember half buried in the frost near the eastern ridge, her wing torn, her body barely bigger than a house cat. Everyone told me to leave her. They said anything that fell from the sky during a meteor storm was dangerous. But she looked at me with eyes that held something I can only describe as understanding, and I could not walk away. I hid her in the barn for weeks, feeding her scraps, wrapping her wing in old cloth. My father found out eventually, but by then Ember had saved his best goat from a frost wolf, so he let her stay. She grew fast, faster than any animal should, and within 2 years she was the size of a large horse, with scales the color of burnt copper and eyes like liquid gold. The whole colony called her my pet dragon, and I never corrected them, because even I did not know what else to call her. For 11 years she slept beside my window at night. She carried me across the fields when the harvest ran late. She never spoke, never made a sound beyond soft rumbling in her chest, and I loved her the way you love family, without asking too many questions. But there were things about her that never made sense. She never aged. Not once in 11 years did she look older than the day she first stood on all 4 legs. She flinched whenever the colony ran its long-range scanners, curling into herself like the sound caused her pain. And sometimes, late at night, I would wake to find her staring at the stars with an expression that looked almost like grief, though I told myself, dragons could not feel grief, because I did not truly know what she was. Tonight, the sirens were not for a storm. They were for something coming down from orbit, fast and uninvited. I burst into the barn and found Ember standing tall, wings spread wide, her whole body trembling with a tension I had never seen in her before. She turned to look at me, and for the first time in 11 years, she spoke. Her voice was calm and clear, not like an animal at all, but like someone who had simply chosen never to use words until now. "Ellen," she said, "you need to listen to me carefully, because there is very little time." I stood frozen, unable to process the sound coming from the creature I had raised since she was small enough to fit in my arms. "You can talk," I whispered. "I have always been able to talk," she said gently. "I chose silence because speaking would have meant telling you the truth, and the truth would have put you in danger." Outside, the humming grew louder, and the ground shook again. Through the open barn doors I could see a shape descending through the clouds, sleek and dark, moving with the kind of precision that told me instantly it was not from Varel, and it was not from Earth either. "They found me," Ember said, her voice tight. "I hoped they never would." I did not understand, but I did not have time to ask before she explained everything in the space of a few urgent breaths. She was not a dragon at all, not in the way our stories described. She was a member of a species called the Varel, ancient travelers who observed young civilizations from a distance, deciding which ones were worth protecting and which ones were too dangerous to be allowed to grow. 11 years ago, her scout ship had been damaged during a survey of our system, and she had crash-landed near the ridge, wounded and unable to call for help. She told her people she had died in the crash, hiding herself among us instead, disguised by a technology woven into her body that made her appear as nothing more than an animal. I asked her why she stayed hidden for so long, instead of trying to go home. "Because home would have meant reporting what I found here," she said, "and what I found was a species my people had already marked for quiet removal." That single sentence hit me harder than the shaking ground outside. The Varel had been watching humanity long before I was born, she explained. They had studied our wars, our mistakes, our capacity for cruelty, and they had decided, long ago, that our kind grew too fast and fought too easily to be trusted with the stars. There had been a vote among her people, quiet and final, to let a natural disaster or a targeted strike erase the colony before it could spread further. Ember had been sent to confirm the colony was ready for removal. Instead, she found me. She told me she watched me carry water to the elders during the drought 2 years ago, watched me stay up all night helping deliver a neighbor's calf, watched the whole colony rebuild the schoolhouse together after a storm tore off its roof. She said humans fought sometimes, yes, but we also forgave. We rebuilt. We cared for strangers without being asked. She said the report she was supposed to send would have condemned all of that, so she never sent it. She chose to stay silent for 11 years, hiding among us, protecting a secret that could have gotten her killed by her own people. Now they had come to find out why she never reported back. The dark ship landed in the field beyond the barn, crushing the wheat beneath it, and 3 tall figures stepped out, wrapped in silver light that made it hard to look directly at them. Their leader spoke without moving its mouth, the words appearing directly in my mind, cold and precise, demanding that Ember step forward and explain her long silence. I stood beside her, refusing to move, even as my legs shook. The leader turned its attention to me, studying me the way you might study an insect you were deciding whether to step on. It said my kind was exactly why Ember's silence had been a mistake, proof that closeness to humans clouded judgment beyond repair. I did not think. I just spoke. I told them that Ember had spent 11 years protecting a farm, a family, and an entire colony without ever once asking for anything in return. I told them that if watching us for 11 years had only shown them our mistakes, they had not been watching closely enough. I said if they wanted proof of what humans were capable of, they should look at the barn behind me, rebuilt twice after storms destroyed it, or the well the whole colony dug together with their bare hands when the old one ran dry, or the fact that a girl and a wounded creature from another world had built a friendship strong enough that she was standing in front of an armed ship, refusing to back down. The leader was silent for a long moment. Then it asked Ember directly why she had chosen to stay, knowing the risk. Ember did not hesitate. She said that, in 11 years, she had never once seen me hesitate to help someone in need, never seen me turn away from someone in pain, never seen me choose cruelty when kindness was harder. She said if her people wanted to judge humanity, they should judge us by people like me, not by our worst moments. The silver light around the 3 figures flickered, and for a moment, I thought we had lost, that this was the end of everything I loved. But then the leader lowered its head slightly, a gesture I did not understand, until Ember quietly translated it as respect. It said her report, though never sent, had been recorded regardless, through her own biological signals, and that the truth of her time here had already reached her people through methods older than words. It said the vote to remove the colony had been paused the moment her signals showed genuine loyalty rather than deception. Tonight was not an attack. It was a final test, to see whether she would choose her own kind or the family she had built here. She chose to stand beside me without a moment of doubt. The ship rose back into the sky minutes later, disappearing into the clouds as quickly as it had come, leaving the field silent except for the sound of my own breathing and Ember's steady heartbeat beside me. I asked her what happens now. She said her people would watch for a while longer, but the immediate threat was gone, and for the first time in 11 years, she did not have to hide what she was. I hugged her the way I did when she was small enough to hold in my arms, and she lowered her head against my shoulder, the same way she always had, except now, there were no secrets left between us. The sun came up over Varel that morning, like it always did, painting the fields gold, and the colony went back to its quiet routines within a day, most of them never even learning how close everything had come to ending. But I knew. I knew that the creature everyone called my pet dragon had spent 11 years protecting a secret bigger than any of us could imagine, and that the secret had never really been about her at all. It had always been about us, and what we were capable of when someone finally chose to see the best in us instead of the worst.